The top stories: capital markets set to be vital to drive economic growth and investments. And India applauded Ethiopia's homegrown economic reform. Hello and welcome to EBC World, the voice of Pan-Africanism, with the latest news highlights of the hour. I am Tabitha John. Do stay with us. An Ethiopian delegation led by Minister of Agriculture Girma Amanté is participating in the African Union's Comprehensive Africa Agriculture Development Program, CAADP Special Summit in Kampala, Uganda. The summit, which aims to tackle challenges in Africa's agriculture and food systems, focuses on sustainable food production, agricultural industrialization, and trade as critical drivers for achieving food security and economic transformation across the continent. In his opening remarks, Minister Girma stressed the need for collective efforts by all African nations to achieve food self-sufficiency. He highlighted Ethiopia's achievements under the leadership of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, including the country's transition from wheat import dependency to self-sufficiency and the Green Legacy Initiative, which has boosted Ethiopia's forest cover from 17% to 23% through the planting of over 40 billion trees. He also noted that Ethiopia had successfully met the CAADP 6% growth target over the past 5 years and aligned its national development plan with a broader African development agenda. The CAADP summit is the third of its kind, following previous gatherings in Maputo in 2004 and Malabo in 2015. Ethiopian and Norwegian ambassadors discussed bilateral and regional cooperation in South Sudan. In a recent meeting held in South Sudan, Nabil Mahdi, Ethiopia's ambassador extraordinary and plenipotentiary to South Sudan, and Roar Haugsdal, the Norwegian ambassador to South Sudan, engaged in in-depth discussions regarding key bilateral and regional issues. One of the central topics of conversation was the implementation of the peace agreement in South Sudan, a crucial regional issue. The two diplomats exchanged views on the progress and challenges surrounding the peace process, underscoring the importance of sustained efforts to ensure its full realization. Both Mahdi and Haugsdal highlighted the necessity of continued international support to achieve lasting stability in South Sudan. Their dialogue underscores the importance of continued collaboration between Ethiopia and Norway, particularly in advancing peace and stability in South Sudan and the broader East Africa region. A special event themed contributions of Indian teachers in the field of education in Ethiopia was recently held at the Indian Embassy in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. During the event, discussions focused on the impact of Indian educators in Ethiopia's educational landscape were held. Additionally, the Indian ambassador to Ethiopia highlighted Ethiopia's homegrown economic reform, praising it as an ambitious agenda that provides effective, locally driven solutions to the country's economic challenges. Sarnisa attended the event and compiled the following.
Themed contributions of Indian teachers in the field of education in Ethiopia has been held in the Indian Embassy premises here in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Speaking on the occasion, Indian Ambassador to Ethiopia and Permanent Representative to the African Union, Anil Kumar Rai, stressed that since Indian teachers play a pivotal role in bringing together the two nations, the event has been intended to shed light on that, he noted.
Although the cooperation in the field of education is quite old, and if I have to say that the structured cooperation between India and Ethiopia before independence, then this is the field where we have been cooperating. And from most of the Indians who are staying here for couple of generations, if I ask them that what is your first impression about the relationship between India and Ethiopia, most of the time they say that the Ethiopians very proudly and very, you can say, emotionally connect to India through their teachers. So, so when I came here, I found that out of most of the things we have done a very structured kind of research and deliberations. But when it comes to education, this area was not touched upon in a very, you can say, a structured manner. So I thought that I should sit down with the teachers who have been a pivotal player in bringing the two societies close to each other, and then understand from them that how we have done so far and what is the way forward which we should define.
Commenting on Ethiopian comprehensive economic agenda, he underscored that the homegrown economic reform of Ethiopia is an ambitious agenda which is based in coming up with local solutions for local problems.
Now coming to some very specific things related to homegrown economic reforms agenda of Ethiopia, which we fully support, subscribe, and to our best of ability want to contribute. So one is this technical and vocational education training is one of the hallmarks of the homegrown economic reforms. Skill-led job creation, innovation and green development, which is a pet project of the Prime Minister, urban productive safety nets and job projects, and finally looking for local solutions to the local issues. So this is one of very important thing which Ethiopia has documented, that look, I have a local problem, I don't want to copy your solution. So here the Indian teachers have a great role because they have left the shores of India to this place, they have understood the country, so they are in the best place to provide local solution to the local issues.
State Minister of Ethiopian Ministry of Education, Korat Shuni, for his part, recalling the long-standing bilateral relations of the two nations, he added that the cooperation of the two nations still continued on multifaceted areas of collaborations.
Today, there is a rapidly growing trade and investment between the two countries, and India is a leading investor and trading partner for Ethiopia, especially in the areas of agriculture, manufacturing and mining. India is also a key destination for Ethiopian students and medical tourists, not just businessmen. As both countries are members of BRICS economic bloc, the ongoing multifaceted cooperation and friendly relations are expected to thrive and expand in the future. While earlier relations spanned trade, cultural, and diplomatic interactions, cooperation in areas of education is a recent development that started during the first half of the 20th century, but remains crucial in the history of modern education in Ethiopia.
Ethiopia, recognized as one of the fastest growing economies in sub-Saharan Africa, is set to maintain an impressive growth trajectory with a projected 8.45% growth rate for the coming year. A key milestone in the country's economic progress is the recent establishment of its capital market, marking a significant step towards modernizing its financial sector. In an interview with the Office of the Prime Minister, Press Secretary Bileni Siyum and Hannah Telugu, Director General of the Capital Markets Authority, emphasized the vital role capital markets play in driving economic growth and attracting investments through innovative financing solutions. Shagao Yamato has the following account.
Ethiopia is the third largest economy in sub-Saharan Africa with a projected growth rate of 8.45% for the coming year. A key milestone in this journey is Ethiopia's recent establishment of its capital market, marking a significant step towards modernizing the country's financial sector. In an interview with Office of the Prime Minister, Press Secretary Bileni Siyum, Director General at Capital Markets Authority, Hannah Telugu, explained reasons for the failure to set up proper capital market in Ethiopia back in various regimes.
Capital market basically doesn't stand by its own. But as you know, historically speaking, we have a capital market. We had an effort to establish a capital market in Ethiopia back in the days.
Just the beginnings.
Just the beginnings, just a glimpse. We have seen just a glimpse of it, but it wouldn't come to fruition because of the change of regime. From even that history, you can understand that the development of capital market is highly related with the broader social, economic, political standings of the country, the government, and even it depends on how the government sees the private sector, the role of the private sector, how much role the private sector should play in the economic development of the country. So that has been one of the issues of why we haven't set up a proper capital market in Ethiopia with a regulator present, with backed by technology and recognized, capital market intermediaries and other participants.
The Director General commended the movements of the current government to establish Ethiopia's first capital market over the past year and a half, formulating a proclamation number for the establishment of the necessary institutional frameworks.
The establishment of capital market, the development of capital market in any jurisdictions involves different efforts to establish different moving parts of capital markets. Capital market involves the functional capital market needs a proper regulator, trusted intermediaries, technological platforms, exchange, and diversified investor base. So to have that, the government has been doing a lot of
the groundwork on that.
Yes. So the groundwork, the cornerstone of that groundwork, I'd say, is the proclamation number 1248. That's, I'd say, the parent law in Ethiopia for the establishment of the necessary institutional frameworks. And of course, that birthed the subsidiary legislation that are very important to have a functional, a vibrant capital market in Ethiopia.
Hannah explained the necessity of having capital market at this point in time as it drives economic growth and investments through innovative financing solutions.
The capital market really resonates with the current government's idea of private sector-led economic development, resilient capital market, resilient economy, a sustainable economy, a financial inclusion, because capital market is a great tool of financial inclusion. When we, previously when we talk about financial inclusion, we usually think about the banking sector having a savings account, maybe having a wallet account through a digital banking system or different, kind of banking services. But that does not really give the investor the actual benefits that they deserve. So that's how the capital market resonates with the broader economic vision of the current government.
Ethiopia's projected economic growth positions Ethiopia amongst the fastest growing economies in sub-Saharan Africa, driven by ambitious economic reforms, strategic investments, and increasingly vibrant private sector.
And finally, scholars have hailed the Ankara Declaration as a landmark agreement designed to diffuse regional tensions. They see the pact as a crucial step towards averting potential conflicts that could flare up in the region. Our reporter, Goshu Medlisau, sat down with them and filed this report.
The Ankara Declaration, signed by Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and Somali President Hassan Sheikh Mohammed under the mediation of Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, marks a significant milestone in regional diplomacy. Following this, scholars approached by EBC praised it as a landmark agreement to avert potential conflicts that could flare up in the region.
For me, this is a welcome news. Any peace agreement that we have, any thawing of potential conflicts with our neighbors is an important issue. And our government, Ethiopia is the biggest economy, and Ethiopia is the biggest country in terms of population and resources in this region. So Ethiopia has to take the first initiative to make peace with our neighbors. And therefore, this is really a landmark agreement. It has sort of created a situation where a potential conflict was going to flare up.
This Ankara Declaration and agreement is a good step forward, but we should not forget there are still, remember, the hostile nations and hostile actors in the region actively working to derail or to stop this move and even this positive, significant step forward, step and move that we saw from the Ankara Declaration. So, bottom line, the fact that the Somali government recognized Ethiopia's quest for sea access to be a legitimate one is a very significant step in the right direction. And Ethiopia's commitment to diplomacy and respecting the sovereignty of the Somalia and other countries in the region is just an affirmation. So it is a positive thing, and things are moving in the right direction. But again, this is not the aim.
Senior political and economic analyst Konstantinos Berha, who has been closely following the issue, highlighted Ethiopia's significant contributions to fostering peace in Somalia.
Somalia is one important country that Ethiopia has supported for a long period of time. In fact, after 14 rounds of negotiations, the formation of the transitional government of Somalia and eventually the federal government of Somalia was facilitated by Ethiopia. That included with sacrifice of our army fighting insurgents in different parts of Somalia. So it's very important that we have peace with our neighbors. And therefore, the Ankara Declaration, which really touts the kind of diplomatic narrative that was going on between Somalia and Ethiopia.
For his part, Taganu Gosa, history and prehistory researcher at Hebrew University, emphasized that Ethiopia should intensify its diplomatic efforts to secure guaranteed access to additional sea outlets to boost its economic growth.
As Ethiopian government stated quite often, that this is the issue of the future of 130 million plus and expanding population and expanding economy. We cannot rely on one port, which is Port of Djibouti, and at the same time aspire to grow economically. And of course, Ethiopian economy is growing and doubling itself almost in terms of GDP over the last 10 years or 20, if you want to. So it is a very much a legitimate question that Ethiopia needs more access and guaranteed access to the sea.
Ethiopia and Somalia have begun dispatching delegations and exchanging diplomats to further solidify the Ankara Declaration.
You're watching ABC The Top Stories. Capital markets said to be vital to drive economic growth and investments. And India uploaded Ethiopia's homegrown economic reform. That's all we had for now. I'm Tabitha John. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.